When you did that, like, I'm sorry.
Keep that on there. Keep that on there. It's a blooper.
We'll start with the blooper today. Okay. Well, you all missed it, but anyway, I feel so professional here. So today, I am really excited because this is actually the second time we've gotten to share this wonderful being with you, Lee Hanks, but this time he comes with a wonderful counterpart and his new partner, and she's just a beautiful, beautiful being, Amara. And I just want to tell you one thing that you won't believe this. What do you think his name is? Lee Patrick Hanks. You probably know that already. Okay, I said Amara. Well, her name is Amara Lee Franks. So let's welcome Hanks and Franks. See, this is the Hanks and Franks show. Welcome. You're extraterrestrial guys. Beyond the universe. And poor Amara is like, what am I doing here? She thought this was going to be professional. Yes, especially beautiful. Connie's countdown, 3, 2, 1. But anyway, I am so happy to have you guys here. We really enjoyed you. I know everyone who's been here so far this week has loved not only the seminars, but the private sessions with both of you guys. Also, you just came from the Coptic conference. You all were the keynote speakers. So you all are really blessed this area with a lot of good stuff, and thanks for coming.
Well, we're again, this is, coming back, this is like my second home here with Shara and Ellen. I love coming here. They're the greatest host, and now to bring this amazing being with me that's traveling, and we're living and enjoying life together. And we're doing work together, which it's really not even work, it's just fun. It's just spreading, like you were doing and what we all do, is just spreading a message of hope and joy. And our website's called The Emerging New World, so that's what we want to just talk about. What's coming now instead of what's been and what's all the hardships and pain and sorrow of the past. We're coming to the end of this. So we're excited to share that with whoever comes across our path. And this is certainly in my life, after all the years and trials and tribulations and challenges, this is the greatest time I've ever experienced. So.
Well, good for you, and you're a wonderful way shower as well as Amara. And last year we talked, and your lessons now are a little different than what they were last year. Last year it seemed as though things may have been a little more turbulent, but now it seems as though we've gotten past some of those challenges and things are smoothing out a bit. It's a little different message.
Well, as it is with us personally, and certainly after I left here in June of last year, early June, and went to traveling and started doing more workshops and presentations, and I had led to Mount Shasta, which has been sort of a kind of an anchoring place for me the last 10, 12 years, but never lived there permanently. But I went there this summer with the idea of creating what we call an ascension training course retreat, and didn't know that I would be the one that would be experiencing major transitions myself, which is of course always a cosmic joke, right? You're the big facilitator and then you get whacked to see how really big you can be or how small you're going to become. And it was life transforming in August for me. A lot of things happened on the mountain, which always does for those that are sincere, and also those that have different agendas in which the universal laws are applying. And so I went with a huge intention, and came out on the other side of it with enormous healing and expansion and incredibly divinely sacred relationship that I had been waiting my whole lifetime for. And so that transformed my work, and now the message has transformed as well, which we've been sharing here just recently at the Coptic conference last Sunday, which was the first time I'd come back out in public in 6 months. And had to rest and had to get reconfigured like many of us have been going through, and that'll continue for us. But now it seems as if this energy and the time's coming for December 21st this year and beyond, it's all going to start really amping and ramping up. And if you've been doing your work, it should be a wonderful, exciting, and fairly smooth transition for all of us. And we'll find our communities and people that we want to share this incredible time with. And For Amara and myself, our plan is to, as we did the conference last Sunday and had a wonderful reception there, and connected with some old folks like Patty Cole-Robles and Armand and Angelina, who I hadn't seen in 6 years from things we had done in the past in Yalaha, Florida, and World Puja, the network. So it's like it's like a recycling, but it's a new reality in that recycling for those that we're going to reconnect with, and some of the people we're now sharing and meeting for the first time. So it's really, it's a wonderful, extraordinary time for us, and that's what we want to make sure that we tell people about, even though I get into the big galactic history and all the wild things that have been happening here and what is about to transpire here on this planet, because we're going to see some very extraordinary things in the coming months and years. And how do we handle them, and how do we get through them? And this is really what our message is. And to have it also coming through from the connection of the feminine, and the heart, and Amara and her life journey, which has been extraordinary as well. We're just going to offer two different perspectives that show how we can actually begin to live and share resources and relationship, and be willing to open up to anything that's possible in this new world.
Sounds good to me. Well, I know, Amara, you can hand her the mic, because this is all new to you. You were just a quiet little healer with this sick little puppy showed up on your doorstep one day, and look where it's gone. But now you have really brought such a wonderful energy. And this is the comedy hour. So, that's right, whatever. You should see when Bob Stevens and I get up here, we just cry, we laugh so hard. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, that's right. It's all about joy, right? But I do want to, I appreciate so much your message, Amara, about the Sacred Heart and coming from that. Can you express that to us a bit, please?
It is such a joy and pleasure to be brought out to share with you what I've been living for many years, and what I believe many of us have been living for many years. In this incredible time, so much is changing so rapidly, and yet something remains the same. And we all feel that, we know that. That's why so many of us can say, I can't believe I'm this many years old. I feel the same way I've felt my entire life. This sense of sameness is the voice of the Sacred Heart. There is this peace that is the root of our very being, that is always with us, intimately connected to us. And this time, 2012, is when that peace, which has been the very foundation and background of our life story, is going to step into the foreground. And it is going to begin to guide us in this very conscious way. So I believe this is the enormous gift that's arising for each of us. And we call that gift the Sacred Heart. You can call it whatever you want. But that was the descriptor that came through Lee. And I thought, after I said, what is that? And he began to describe it to me. It's like, oh, our own true being, of course, the Sacred Heart.
That's beautiful. And wouldn't you say she's a natural? First of all, she looks like a goddess. And second of all,
well, she is a goddess.
She is she looks like one. She is one. And just really so clear with how she articulates such a beautiful message. And so, Lee, tell us a little bit about you introducing Amara to this, but also the Sacred Heart, expressing it that way. How is that really determining and dictating your purpose here?
Oh my goodness, we just did that yesterday for 4 hours. You want me to do it in 2 minutes? Okay, all right. For those of you who didn't come yesterday, we'll do the short version. We'll try. I do want to say this about Amara, and this is her first time coming out in public, believe it or not, doing this work. So she got a lot of courage because last Sunday, right about this time or a little later, we were in front of 500 people and she'd never stood in front of an audience before. And she did magnificently well, and she just came from her heart, you know. And truly, if you can feel that as I do, and I certainly felt that the first moment I met her, to live in that space now, we're in this fourth dimension, as we call it, the resonant frequency field or the new consciousness, whatever terminology you want to use. And so, if you, as I said yesterday, you know, you have the chakra system, the 7 chakras. Well, you know, the world has been running through the 3rd chakra, the 3rd matrix energy mind chakra, power chakra, and we're now in this heart chakra. We're in this 4th dimensional field. So if we're not going to be living from here, it's going to get challenging for everybody and everything on this planet. Because the world, the planet, the cosmos, the galactic equator that's going to be hitting 0 point December 21st of this year, it's saying to you and everybody and everything, we are moving into 0 point and rebooting into the 4th world and moving then towards the 5th. And that's going to happen very suddenly. And it's going to happen with an amazing speed that if you've been doing this work and centering yourself in the heart and your relationships and the way you perceive life and the way you live it, it should be a glorious transition. And it should be a transition of coming back together from that which has been separate from this lower power chakra and all the things that represent power or the accumulation of power or greed or the distortions of power, which are now, as you're seeing within everything in this planet, are breaking down. And they need to. And they need to be transformed into something, into the heart center. And this is really what we're living through in this time, which the ancients and all the mystery schools have been telling us. This time, 2012, would be the greatest transition that this planet has ever seen in its entire history as a civilization, and all those that have come before us. So everything we do, everything we talk about, now that Amara and I are out here again in public, is, yes, the heart is the only place. It's the steering wheel. It's your mechanism to be able to maneuver and surf and drive yourself through consciousness and all the craziness out in the world. If you can stay here, regardless of what's happening into you, and if you drop down or if you get lost or you get stuck, then you call people, help them get you back here, like the center and what you're doing and everyone that's here in this area. And we work this energy together and hold each other into that space and honor that. That's our message, and we will say this until we all get to the 5th dimension.
Very, very cool. Well, I want to address something Amara had spoken about, which is letting go of our story. And I think that is such a powerful message for actually where we're headed. And we can't go there for carrying that, can we?
Right. So we all have so many stories. On some level, our identity as a separate individual is a collage of stories. We were told we were born. We were told what happened in the first 12 months of our life.
Sorry.
You actually turned it off.
Many of us have memories. These memories are stories. And we carry these with us. We have photographs that trigger the stories. We share the stories. It feels like fun to share the stories. But at this point in time, for those of you that are here, we're awakening to something more real than the memories and the stories, something that's eternal. It's absolutely essential to let the stories go. We don't want to take the stories and throw them in a garbage can or down the disposal. It's nothing harsh like that. It's simply letting them go. And when we let the stories go, what remains is something much more intimate. It's something that comes from here, not from here, from memory, from being told certain things and just believing it. So, in this work, anytime we begin to tell a story, if you feel into it, you can sense that an internal shift has happened. You've gone from here back up to here. And sometimes there's dueling stories. Well, here's my story. Well, that reminds me of my story. The whole interaction ends up being kind of like this little loving debate, but it's not intimate. It's something else. It's so important. And as we go more deeply into this, because this afternoon we're going to talk about this opening into our Sacred Heart, even the descriptor of an emotion is a story. And when we drop all of this, it's like the meditation today that we were so beautifully guided into. We begin to live from that place. Doesn't matter if you're washing the dishes or washing your car or on the phone with a friend, you begin to live from that meditation. But it's minus the stories.
And so I want to just follow that up, and then I want to go to Lee. But so talk a little bit about non-duality and how that relates.
Oh, that could be a while. That's our favorite show.
That's right. I know it is.
It's such a paradox because any talking about non-duality is not non-duality. What do we do? The reason this is my favorite subject is because in my life journey, at a very, very young age, non-duality opened up to me. So my entire adult life has been an immersion in Advaita Vedanta, which is the Hindu label for non-duality. But the short of it is that our life dream, so to speak, as a separate individual is what we call duality. It is day-night, right-wrong, male-female, old-young. Everything is in this polarity that we call duality. It's the playing field of that which is in complete unity, the non-dual. At a certain point, it becomes quite tedious to continue identifying with the duality. It's exhausting. It's full of conflict, which is its nature. This is not a bad thing. It's just the nature of duality, to be in conflict. What we can point to, because it's only a pointing, that is non-dual, is love, sameness, peace, no lack. This is the essence of who we truly are. This is the transformation that every heart seeks, this moment-to-moment living in this completely open, non-dual beingness that we are. This is what is going to happen to the planet. This is the doorway that 2012 offers.
Beautiful. Well, Lee, so obviously you have been known for your experiences with galactic beings. You have a lot of passion, and it's certainly, this is your time. And so, Amara, your message is coming into our reality now, which is fantastic. But, when Amara talks about non-duality, one thing that you've mentioned a couple of times this week, which I really appreciate, is that we're all being booted, we're all being turned on to this non-duality. And I've always been a believer that we all, every one of our brothers and sisters on this planet and beyond, is part of this awakening. No one's exempt, and you've affirmed that for me this week. So tell us a little bit about how not only we are all in this together, and number two, how we're being assisted and helped by these beings.
Oh, well, that you're going to have to come to this afternoon. I'm not going to give it all away at once. Come on now. Well, for those of you who don't know a little bit of my history, I've had a pretty extraordinary life in that I was in a very dualistic reality, from ETs to being a yogic monk for several years and practicing through a teacher of mine from the East, and had to go beyond that lessons in the platform, and actually that was the foundation to show me how dualism can play out in multiple and in extreme ways. For me, it was alien abductions in the early 80s. That was eventually something I had to deal with because I was taken out of this reality and into another reality, which really created a split, or what you call duality, in multiple realms. And so my journey has been quite unique from others in that when I was able to experience what we call that fourth dimensional field where these particular ETs hang out, these Greys or the Zetas, it was a fourth dimensional field which was a higher frequency than this field, but not necessarily what we call a non-dual field. Okay, and this is what the fifth dimensional resonance is going to be coming into us in a very short time. So that's why we're talking about going from duality to non-duality. And that means that our bodies, our energetic fields, the planet, the grid, our solar system is moving into this higher dimensional, fifth dimension resonant field of frequencies, which I explained yesterday. And I will talk a little bit more about this afternoon. And so my journey was the opposite. I had to come back into the third dimension because of my experiences and then reacquaint myself with non-dualism. And that's been the 25-year journey for me. And that sounds kind of strange on some levels, but actually it was perfect for what I had to experience, because now I've seen the parameters of duality on multiple levels, from the third dimension even into the fourth, which a lot of people think is heaven and all this other stuff. It's a lot of astral beings and multidimensional beings and interdimensional beings and extraterrestrials. But when you move past that realm into the fifth, then a lot of those distortions and or linear expressions becomes even more condensed and higher in its frequency and more centered in the connection to divinity. We're all part of this divinity field. Third dimension, fourth dimension, dark beings, light beings, none of that really is an existence. That's part of the story, that's part of the mind, that's part of the illusion. But when you have to go to the extremes to experience this, and then being able to sit here and talk to all of you about what I actually did go through, and the healing that it took for me to come back into my non-dualistic aspect of myself, which, by the way, was the ultimate marker when I was brought into her home and met Amara, who had been in this space of non-dualism and literally sitting in it for several years, but especially the last 2 years. It was exactly what my progression and destiny offered to me, because I had completed all the wild, crazy stories and all the expansions and that which resides in a third and basically fourth dimensional field. And meeting these beings, multiple beings from different races, which is part of our clan. All of us are part of this, the 12 Star Nation beings that created our physical embodiment, as known as the human imprint. And we had one of those that decided to do it differently, which some of you would call Lucifer or the Draconians and others. That was the friction. That showed us how dualism would play out in the third and fourth dimension. So now we're coming through these stages, and we're going to actually graduate, many of us. Some of those that are not quite awakened yet, that are living here in the third dimensional reality and are going to be shockingly awakened as we hit this December 21st date. We're going to get that non-dualistic aspect coming into our physical embodiment. Our DNA, our activated cells, our chakras are going to be opening at a whole different level. The earth itself is going to be resonating in a higher field. So everything in it and around it is moving to lesser duality, coming out of the power and the misuse and distortions of power, which they also used in the fourth dimensional field, some of these extraterrestrials. And it is all going to be basically rebooted. It's going to be reconfigured into a higher formulation of light and love. So we will see breakdowns, and we're going to see some of these things playing out. And the game for all of us is not to get stuck or get tricked into the belief that this is part of what we're supposed to have happen and accept. The whole game now is to be here so that you can navigate and connect with what Amara just said, being connected to love, to your community, to yourself, to your relationships. And don't let anything pull you out of this, and if it is, it's just a story. It's just a story.
Beautifully said. Well, we could go on, and but I don't want to give away the afternoon seminar. But I would like to give anyone out here an opportunity for 1 or 2 questions. Does anyone have a burning desire to ask Lee or Amara a question? Oh, okay, Brian. Should have known.
On the one hand, we have duality, and on the other hand, we have non-duality. Is that in itself a duality?
That's right. Boy, that was a quick handoff. Yeah.
That's her expertise.
Thank you for asking that question. You know, everything that we try to describe within the limitation of mental concept and word is within duality. So the hope is that the words fall away and something remains in your heart that resonates and conveys the essence of non-duality, which is within each of us. So forgive me if my words don't resonate from that place for you, but that is the attempt. Those who are so deeply steeped in non-duality very often do not speak. Their presence alone is the message. When I was with my teacher in India, there was never a teaching. We simply lived in a home together, and I watched him eat. I watched him write letters. I watched him smell flowers. And after I returned home, slowly it would arise in me what the teaching had been. But the pleasure, the joy of being with him was the experience. There was nothing that was cognized in the brain, in the mind. Everything was just absorbed through osmosis. This is the true non-dual teaching. We just try our best with words.
Well, we could take one more question. Yes, ma'am.
I just love the way you are speaking and the love that we're receiving, the heart center. It's just lovely, the work that you're doing. For me, and I would like for you to expand on this just a few minutes. I've been getting a lot of stepping out of the illusion of who we think we are and who we truly are, and it's going from the unknowing into now we know. So there is no duality. So I'd like for you to reflect on that a bit. Is that part of your message?
Well, it's part of your message, so it has to be part of my message. and the way you expressed it is very beautiful. And it can also be exactly the opposite, to go from knowing to not knowing. It's within this play, this life play, everything is reflecting itself, and it's constantly being offered in these paradoxes. That's why the non-dual truth is moment to moment. One moment, it could fully be that you're going from not knowing to knowing, and that just resonates as truth. And then later that day, it resonates as true that you're going from knowing to not knowing. It is so alive. It is so alive. So one of the great gifts of stepping into who you truly are is there's nothing right and there's nothing wrong. It is such a relief. We have been carrying this burden of trying to get it right, or calling out those who have it wrong, or whatever, however it's played. And it's been so draining. And it pulls you away from the moment, from the present moment. And that's all we have. That's all that's true. It's why dropping the stories is such a relief, because it's pulling us into the past. It's dragging us into an imaginary future. But right here, right now, in its It's crazy flux, and it fluxes so that we don't grab onto anything and go, this is it. So, yes, it's exactly what you expressed.
Thank you so much.
I wanted to add something to that, because the practice that I went through for many years was non-attachment through the yogic tradition and my teacher and the whole Eastern consciousness, developing the idea of non-attachment to anything so that you can be in that space, so that you allow yourself to be in that moment and allow whatever is coming forward, what's morphing into your reality. And in my case, I had a lot of interesting fellows and beings showing up in my reality and saying, oh, who's that? Oh, who are they? Or what are they? And what do they want? Why are they here? And after a while, my mind could not handle the realities of what it was that was actually being put in front of me. So I had to be not attached to the knowing of that or even thinking I knew or trying to figure it out. And this is what 2012 and what we are using this December 21st marker, it's just a marker. Because it's a threshold, it's an opening to a world of worlds that we've all known in our past. We all have it within our memory. Every single cell in our body knows this. We are immortal beings. Many of us come from multiple galaxies or multiple dimensions of reality. And so being able to surrender to even to thinking what we know is coming, or to believe it at some level or another, without just allowing it to come into us and let it express itself through consciousness, through all of us together. And then some of us have a little bit of a peek of the future and get a chance to go beyond the time-space continuum. And in that, we also see possibilities, which is what I've been shown over the years, of what this future world might look like. And again, I've learned not to accept that that is the actual reality of it, because that could change in a second as well. But there are markers along the way, and we get hints in our lives, and we get, chances to resonate when, I walked into Amara's house, and when I walked out of there, I heard a very clear divine voice say to me, "Welcome to your sanctuary." Now, I didn't know what that meant at the moment, but some part of me knew that that had something to do with my future, without knowing what the future was. Okay, meaning, was I just here in Mount Shasta? Was I here in my heart? Finally, had I come home to myself? Everything has multiple layers of meaning. So to try to interpret that through the mind, which is what Amara is holding, and of course she calls me on this whenever I go into the mind, which has been a great experience for me, just to feel that and understand that from the feminine, from the receptive, from the expansiveness aspect of the healing that took place with my coming with her, and her expansion of offering me offering her multiple realities, which is something that wasn't a part of her world. This is how we're going to play out in this new, whatever you want to call it, that's coming. And this is the great part of the dance. I mean, this is truly the greatest dance. So.
Well, you guys have been wonderful today, and I thank you all for being here and sharing your message not only with us, but just with the world, and the world's a better place because of you two being on the planet, so thank you. And I'd like to give you an opportunity to let the listeners know what your website is. How can they contact you?
You can go to emergingnewworld.com. That's our new website with Amara and I have created together, and we have some webinars up there that we talk about a lot of these things, and we're going to do 12 of them this year, because we picked the number 12, being one each month, leading into December 21st and beyond. So you can go there. We have a retreat coming up, the Mount Shasta retreat, in July the 8th to the 12th at the Gildan Lodge in Mount Shasta that we've not done before together. And it's one of the exciting points of our year, besides coming here, because we don't know what we're going to do beyond that, because of the transformations and possibilities that are coming. So we're offering that. They can go and see that on the website. And we're going to be in Florida next week, and then we head back to Mount Shasta, and we will continually be putting out information and just sharing what we are experiencing, so all of you can get that, and it's free. And we have our private sessions available, and if people are interested, they can contact us or talk to us later.
Thank you, and thank you all for blessing us today.